Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our weekly class. Alhamdulillah. Blessed reminders for my sisters, inshallah. Kita begin doa doa. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi في كل لحظة أبدا على نعم الله وأفضاله. اللهم آتنا من لدنك رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي يفعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين وفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع إيه وخير اللهم صل وسلم على بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وتعلم وتعني وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقرب وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدنيا مشرب صافيا هني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف نناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله يا فتاح يا عليم، يا فتاح يا عليم، يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرات الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين Walleen. Amin. Amin, amin, amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We're continuing with our class. And I apologize for the delay in starting the class. There was a hound of Sheikh Bakar bin Salim and a lot of the people from Yemen, Hadramaut, the Habib Kazim, Sid Salim, Sid Hamid, they were all at the majlis and it was those kind of things like that you know I wanted to tune in. Yeah. So I pushed the class a bit behind. So Alhamdulillah, we're still continuing with our class. And I remember that last week I'm supposed to address an issue that was asked at the end of the class. So and I said I was going to address it today, right? Which is basically I think someone asked the question about, I think here, where was it? Someone asked the question about the scenarios, right? The scenario about the recitation of Surah Fatiha. So, what are the scenarios in which you have to finish the recitation of Surah Al Fatiha, and what are the scenarios in which you do not, in which you don't have to finish the recitation of Surah Al Fatiha? Okay, so let me first lay out a rule. Okay, a specific rule. All right. And I'm going to put a rule here. Okay, rule. Okay. For a person who is masbuk, and I'm going to put a star there because I'm going to define this word. For a person who is masbuk, the Imam carries that or carries her Fatiha for that raka'ah. Okay. So now this is the first rule. So rule one, and so this is basically the rule lah. So otherwise, if they are not masbuk, then they need to finish their own Fatiha for that raka'at. Okay? All right. Okay. So what is masbuk? Let me explain this. Then I'm going to give the entire scenario, and I think the best way to present this today is to do a flow chart, right? So flow chart so that you can know whether at any point in time in your prayer, do you have to finish a Fatiha or can you leave it and continue the prayer? Okay, so what is a masbuk? Right? A masbuk is basically someone. Right, wait, let me put a person who is a masbuk, right, if she gets ruku, let me see, never mind, I just put there for that rakaat. Okay, never mind. I'll just put it. Okay, what is a masbuk, right? So, and I'm talking about the specific case of those who are entering at the standing. Okay, we're specifically speaking about someone who's entered at the standing. After the standing is understood, right? What is a masbuk, right? So, what is a masbuk? Someone who entered the prayer with not in the prayer later than when the Imam began. Okay. Right. So someone who entered the prayer, let me put let me try and rephrase this. Someone who entered the prayer later than when the Imam had begun, afwan, then when the Imam had begun, such that she was unable to finish Fatiha because of her lateness in entering. Okay. Right. So which means that had she, let me see. Okay, now I'm just gonna. As soon as I go along, maybe I might rephrase a few things, right? So I'm thinking that what's the best to rephrase this. Okay, so what is a masbuk? As a masbuk is someone who entered the prayer later than when the imam had begun, right? And such that she was unable to finish the Fatiha because of her lateness in entering the prayer. Okay, so her inability to finish her Fatiha was because of her lateness in entering the prayer. Okay, that is why she's unable to finish the Fatiha because she was late in entering the prayer. All right, so all right, so this would obviously mean that the Imam is still standing. Okay, so we're not considering any other situations whereby the Imam is in ruku or the Imam is in sujud or the Imam is in i'tidal or any other part of the prayer because that would be straightforward. All right. When someone enters a prayer, right, so I'm just going to go through this is very quickly. How do we do masbuk? Right, masbuk basically to enter into a prayer. Right, to enter into a prayer late. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the side for a while. I'm gonna just go do a recap, right? Or maybe even a first time teaching it. What is like how do we enter a prayer late? Like how do we enter a prayer late? Right. So if someone is already praying, right? If someone is already praying, um, and you want to enter into the congregation, right? So if you want to enter into the congregation, what do? Right, you stand. So if the person is already in congregation, very simple. Is you just stand in line, right, and then you takbir Allahu Akbar. You must hold your standing for the level of tumanina. You must hold the standing for level of tumanina, right, for just a few seconds, right? Subhanallah, a few seconds, and then you move into position immediately as to where the imam is. Right, that is how you enter prayer. Right, so you just move into position immediately where the imam is. So wherever the imam is at, you move there. Okay. If you are able to get the imam in ruku' for the level of tumanina, that means for the amount of time of tumanina, right? So if you're able to catch the imam in ruku', right? So the imam, so for example, come to the prayer, you find the imam in ruku'. Okay, you Allahu Akbar, you stand for a moment. And then Allahu Akbar, you go into ruku'. So when you go into ruku' and you have, you are now rested in ruku', the imam is still in ruku'. Okay, if that situation happens to you, then you have gotten the raka'at. The raka'at is counted, right, for you. The raka'at is counted for you. But however, if you did not get the imam in ruku' or did not get the imam in ruku' for tumanina, which means you enter the prayer, the imam is already in sujud. Right? So you Allahu Akbar, standing for moments, then Allahu Akbar, you go into uh, sujud. So of course that rak'at does not count for you. Right? So you need to get the ruku' with the imam to count the rak'at, right, for you. So the rak'at is not counted for you. You count after that. You count the rak'at after that. Okay, I feel like I need to draw this first. Okay, so I'm going to put this part aside first for a while. I want to explain Masbook first. Okay, I explain Masbook first. Right, you explain Masbook first, and then hopefully my pen is working. I don't know why my pen sometimes it writes, sometimes doesn't write. I don't know whether it's because my screen is dusty. Maybe I need to what's it? Oh, I think maybe I need to clean my screen. Okay. Okay, so let me just draw this. I feel like if I draw it's clearer. Okay, let me just draw the imam. So someone's praying, right? Okay. See, my either my pen is something wrong or my screen is something wrong. Okay, so someone is praying. Allah. Okay. And you come, and you want to join. Okay. If there is no jama'ah, right, you should place your hand on that person's shoulder, right, to indicate that you are joining. Okay, you should just to place your hand on that person's shoulder, right, to indicate that you are joining that person. So they are aware that they are being an imam. But if there's already a jama'ah, there's no need to. Okay, so so let me just draw a few scenarios. Let me just clear this first. Okay, the few scenarios. So no. Clear. Okay, three different scenarios. Okay, of masbuk. Let me just put it up here. Right, masbuk. Yeah, my screen is very dusty. Masbuk. Scenarios. Okay, and I know perhaps a lot of you know this, but I'm doing this for the benefit of everyone. So in case people don't know, how do you do masbuk? So what is masbuk? Entering the prayer late. Okay, scenarios. All right. Because I know I've seen people in the masjid. I guess if you've never learned this, you would it's not intuitive. It's technically not intuitive if you've never ever seen someone do this or ever learned this, right? So you need to go through it. And in fact, after teaching for some time, I realized that some people, have a misunderstanding of how to do masbuk. They actually have a misunderstanding of how to do masbuk. Okay, so let me just do a scenario, right? And I'm gonna say Zuhur prayer. Okay, Zuhur. Okay, right, Zuhur prayer. Okay, so the first scenario that we will be studying after this in a while is a scenario whereby someone's praying. Right, so the Imam is praying. Okay, and he's still standing. You see that he's still standing, right? Right, and you come and you want to join. Okay, that's the first scenario. Okay, but you came late. So you were not there to witness the Imam do takbiratul ihram. You were not there to witness the Imam do takbiratul ihram. You came to the prayer and you already find the Imam is praying. Okay, so you don't know where he's at. Right, in his recitation, maybe it's a silent prayer. You have no clue where he's at. It could be that you enter the prayer in 1 second, he goes into ruku. It could be. Or it could be that you ended the prayer maybe after 5 minutes he goes into ruku. For all you know, he's reading a long recitation. You have no clue where he's at. All you know is that he's standing. So it could be that he was going to ruku at any time now, or he will ruku after quite some time. So you don't know. You don't know where he's at. This is scenario one. This is something that is actually the point of our discussion in the Word document. All right. So when I get to the Word document, I will discuss number one. Okay, number two and number three, I just want to just clear it, right, so that people can understand it. Right. So number two, right, is a scenario whereby rakaat counted. Allah, rakaat counted. Allah. Alhamdulillah, ya Rab. Mm, okay. Right, rakaat counted, which is basically, right, if the Imam is in ruku. Okay. So you enter the prayer and you find that the Imam is in ruku. Okay. So you want to enter the prayer, right? So what do you do? I'm going to draw you in blue. So what do you do? When you come to you see the Imam's in ruku, right? When you come to the prayer, you cannot go into ruku straight away. Right? First step is you need to takbiratul ihram. Okay? Try you. Okay, you need to takbiratul ihram. And so you must go Allahu Akbar. Okay, first. And then what you need to do is that you need to hold your standing for the level of tumanina. Right? So when you see the Imam already in ruku', don't rush to try and get into ruku'. Right? Don't miss your tumanina. Right? Your subhanallah. So you come in, see the Imam is in ruku', okay. You Allahu Akbar. Hold the standing for just subhanallah. Okay, you don't have to do Fatiha. Just subhanallah. And then straight away go into ruku'. Allahu Akbar. Right, so you go into ruku'. Okay. Right. My pen is really not cooperating. Okay. Right, then you go into ruku'. Like that. All right. So if you manage to go into ruku' and hold that position for subhanallah, and both you and the Imam are in ruku', that means the Imam has not lifted his head at all. Right? Then alhamdulillah, you got that raka'at. The raka'at is yours, right? You got the raka'at. That raka'at counts for the first raka'at. Okay? It counts for your first raka'at. Okay. It is regardless of whether or not the Imam does a tahiyat. right? That is counted as your first rak'at. If the Imam does a tahiyat, you follow the Imam. Whatever the Imam does, you must follow the Imam, right? But you just count the rak'ats as it is. So, for example, and this is something I think must be mentioned clearly, right? Because I realize that people who misunderstand this part, right? So, if you join the Imam and the Imam happens to be at his second rak'at, okay, so it's your first rak'at, right? So your rakaat counts together with the imam. It counts, correct? So the imam's going to pray third rakaat, fourth rakaat, right? And he's going to give salams because he's done the first rakaat without you there, right? Your first rakaat coincides with the imam's second rakaat. Let me just use a different color. Okay, your first rakaat coincides with the imam's second rakaat. Your second rakaat coincides with the imam's with the imam's third rakaat. And your third rakaat coincides with the imam's fourth rakaat. Okay, you are to follow the imam exactly. Like whatever the imam does, you must follow, right? Unless you know for sure the imam is making a mistake. Like other than that, whatever the imam does, you must follow for sure, right? So then, when the imam is done with his four rakats, he's going to do his salams. You have one more rakat to go. You will go into your fourth rakat and you will pray it as a fourth rakat. Okay, you will pray it as a fourth rakat, meaning, right, you will pray it with the final tahiyat, right? You will pray it with the final tahiyat, right? I'm pointing this out because I've met students who think that they are actually doing a qada of their first rakat in the last rakat. They have this misunderstanding, thinking that when they join the imam in second, third, and fourth, because the imam does a tahiyat here and he does a tahiyat here, right? So they think that they have done 2, 3, and 4, and they have not done 1. Right? So what they do is that they follow the imam in 2, 3, and 4, then they qada the 1 at the end, and then they end their prayer without a final tahiyat, and they just salams and leave their prayer. There is it's a big misunderstanding. Big misunderstanding. Right? No, you're not doing a qada of the first rak'at. Right? But you are doing your prayers. Doesn't matter if your first rak'at has a tahiyat, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if your second rak'at has no tahiyat, doesn't matter if the third rak'at has tahiyat, doesn't matter. You follow the imam as it is, and do a fourth rak'at as usual. Okay, as usual. Right, so I hope this is clear. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, so that one is called raka'at is counted. Okay, so you're not doing a qada of the first, let me just put it in red. Now, you're not doing a qada of the first raka'at, but you're doing an original fourth raka'at. You get it? Right? But by your first three, you're just copying the imam. Doesn't matter if you do tahiyat at the different raka'ats, doesn't matter. Okay, I hope you understand that one. Okay, let me go to the third scenario and then I'll go back to the first scenario. Okay, and then that's the topic of our discussion today. All right, the third scenario, right, is when the imam has gone past the ruku', right? Or if you don't catch the imam for the level of tumatnina in ruku'. So here she caught the imam, which means that she got into ruku' while the imam is in ruku' and they both held it for at least subhanallah. All right. But if let's say when she goes down into ruku', the imam is getting up. She's missed the imam in ruku'. Or when she comes to the prayer, she finds the imam already in sujud. Right? So, for example, this is the imam. And he is seated. Okay? In prayer. Okay, he's seated in prayer. So she comes into the prayer, she wants to join the prayer. How will she do this? Very simple. She comes to the prayer, she takbir. Right? Takbiratul ihram. Right? She do takbiratul ihram. Right? So Allahu Akbar. Hold the standing for Subhanallah, then immediately sits as how the Imam is sitting. Immediately she sits. Okay, so she sits as how the Imam is sitting. Okay. Eh. All right. Immediately she sits as how the Imam is sitting. You get it? Right? Allah. Okay. So she immediately sits as how the Imam is sitting. Okay. All right. And this raka'at is not counted. Raka'at not counted. Raka'at not counted. Okay, right? So then the following raka'at is when she begins to count the raka'ats for her. So here, if someone to say, then what's the point if I come to a prayer, right, and I see the imam is not in ruku or not in standing, he's in sujood or in sitting, should I join? Or should I wait until the imam gets up again? I mean, someone asked that question. The answer is join. Because whichever part of the prayer that you join in, the reward of congregation begins to be counted for you. Even if the raka'at is not counted, the reward of congregation is being counted. And you only get the reward of congregation of jama'ah for as long as you are in jama'ah. If you are praying by yourself, then you have no reward of congregation, right? So for example, in the second scenario, for rak'ats 1, 2, and 3, she has the reward of congregation, right? But for the fourth rak'at, she has no reward of congregation because she was praying by herself. You get it, right? So if you see someone praying, as soon as you can, join the prayer. Because as soon as you join the prayer, the sooner your rewards get calculated. It gets counted. Okay. So basically, 2 and 3 is not our concern right now about the Fatiha situations, right? Because there's no Fatiha involved. Right? It is in ruku and it's past ruku. Right? So there was no standing involved for apa for scenarios 2 and 3. Let me just answer the questions first to see what are the questions, and then I will go back to scenario 1. Okay, first question. Let's see. Must we niyat right before takbiratul ihram? Okay, can someone answer this? Let me see. Can someone answer the question? The first question. Must we niyat right before takbiratul ihram? What do you mean by must? Must you mean sunnah or you mean wajib? What do you mean by must? What do you mean by must? Sunnah or wajib? Dear students. Oh, dear students. When is the niyat wajib? When is the niyat wajib? What was the question? What was the question? Must we niyat right before takbiratul ihram? Must we niyat right before takbiratul ihram? What's the answer? Can I have the answer? Yes, correct. And you don't say no. You ask them, what do you mean by must? Right? What do you mean by must? Do you mean sunnah or do you mean wajib? Because I would say the word must will refer to sunnah as well. I say you must do your sunnah. I would say that, right? You must do your sunnah. Sunnah is good for you. You must do your sunnah. Like you must eat your vegetables. You must you must have enough rest. You must. So the word must can go between sunnah and wajib because the Prophet ﷺ did use the word must between sunnah and wajib, right? So again, clarity, right? Clarity. Okay. Um. Uh. For intentions before the takbir, it is sunnah for you to do. All right. Whether you are masbuk or not masbuk, it does not matter. The intentions before you say or you utter the takbir is sunnah for you to do. Right? And then during the takbir, as you say, Allahu Akbar. Right? So during the time your tongue is occupied with the words Allahu Akbar, right? Then in that situation, right, when your tongue is occupied with the words Allahu Akbar, your heart has to be occupied, right, with the words. Your heart has to be occupied with the words. Usalli fardas subhi, right? At least, right? Your heart has to be occupied with the words Usalli fardas subhi at the very least. Okay. Of course, if you can do the entire, you do the entire thing lah. Right? If it's possible. I want to show something that I drew that day for the primary one. Just to make it clear to the children, I drew this out. Recent. I actually drew this out to make it clear to the children in this text that I'm doing. so that they have a clear idea of what is wajib. The wajib is the intention, right? When you come into prayer, right? The wajib is the intention at the point of, okay, let me just share it, okay? New share. Okay, you see this? Try and bring this up. Okay. Can you all see? All right. Okay, so I did this drawing, right, for children to understand. Right? So I am praying, right? My mouth is occupied with Allahu Akbar. My heart is occupied with I am praying for the Zuhur for Allah. Okay, but the wajib is I am praying for the Zuhur. That is wajib. The heart can say it in English, Malay, Arabic, doesn't matter. The heart can speak any language, right? So this is wajib. It's wajib to be done this way. Right? So as the tongue is occupied with Allahu Akbar, the heart must be occupied with the compulsory niyat. This niyat is wajib. Right? So what happens before the prayer, when you stand there and you say to yourself out loud or softly, with your tongue, you say, "Usalli farda subhi rak'ataini ada'an lillahi ta'ala." Right? That whatever you say there, that entire thing is sunnah. The entire thing is sunnah, right? Then when you go Allah, so when you begin doing that, the heart has to start running already. The heart must be speaking already. So the heart begins saying, I am praying for the Zuhur for Allah. As the tongue says, Allah Akbar. Okay, this intention is what is wajib. Right? This intention is what is wajib. Someone's video on. Someone's video on. I can tell whose video is on. Okay. I hope that I hope that you'll understand, right? So if someone asking you, then the heart cannot be occupied with the zikr of Allahu Akbar when the heart is occupied with niyyah. The heart can be occupied with a lot of things at the same time, right? The heart can be occupied with a lot of things at the same time. But anyway, for the heart to be occupied with sunnah instead of wajib, that doesn't make sense, right? If something is wajib, your heart must be occupied with the wajib and not the sunnah. You get it, eh? Your heart should be occupied with the wajib. All right. So see, but why my heart is not occupied with Allahu Akbar? That's not wajib on the heart. That's not wajib on the heart. The heart's wajib is what? Usalli for the zuhri. That's the wajib on the heart. I am praying for the zuhur. Get it, eh? I hope you get it. All right. Let me go back to the second question. So then does that mean that after ihram we don't have to fold our arms before doing ruku'? Okay, again, want to rephrase this? Don't have to meaning? Don't have to meaning? Right, so let's just rephrase this, okay? Is it sunnah? Right? Is it sunnah or wajib for us to fold our arms? Folding the arms in the first place is not wajib. Right? Folding your arms in all your prayers, the folding of the arms is sunnah throughout. Right? So in any prayer, whether you're praying by yourself, or you're an imam, or you're a ma'mum, or you're a masbuk, whatever you are, right? Folding your arms across your chest when you are standing in prayer is a sunnah act, right? So it will be a sunnah act, right? So after takbiratul ihram, if you want to get the reward of sunnah, yes, fold your arms for a level of 2 seconds, right? Saying subhanallah. All right. So then you get the reward of folding your arms because it is a sunnah. All right. But if you don't want to fold your arms, right, there is no sin on you. And your prayer is still valid, right? Because folding the arms is sunnah. Right? Anyway, is sunnah anyway. All right. Tamam. Okay, question here. Does that mean that we don't follow the Imam to the salams after Tahiyatul Akhir and we stand up to the fourth rak'at? Yes, that is correct. Right, that's why I'm going through this. Right, because when I go back to my own drawings, right? So because, right, if you follow Imam in his salams, you are intending to end your prayer, right? So you don't do that, right? So if you follow the Imams in salams intentionally, then you have nullified your entire prayer. Because Zuhur is not 3 rak'ats, Zuhur is 4 rak'ats, right? But if you accidentally follow the Imam, forgetfully, then the moment you realize, you can stand back up and do your 4th rak'at. Okay, so in your final raka'at, you don't do the salams with the imam, but rather when the imam does his salams, right, you stand and you do the fourth raka'at. Yes. Okay, next question. Does that mean we will do a total of 3 tahiyat in this scenario? Yes, it's true. And I have a fiqh riddle for you all. What prayer has 4 tahiyat in it? Fiqh riddle. What prayer has 4 tahiyat in it? Who can answer? Gets no present but get reward, inshallah. Which prayer has 4 attahiyat in it? Which salat has 4 tahiyat in it? Maghrib has 2 if you pray no matter you're more specific, come on, you all will be more specific. Give me like one word. How am I gonna give you all marks? Your marks all 0. Correct, Iman. Masbuk at Maghrib at the second rakaat after your answer is naqis, Iman. Your answer is Kaida answer is full. Maghrib prayer when you join as a masbuk after the Imam has stood up. Your answer also naqis. Your answer is also not full. Your answer is yes. Now it's full. Okay, Maghrib prayer when you join as a masbuk after the Imam has stood up from ruku' for the second rakaat, right? Iman's answer was short of, saying what after ruku', right? Masbuk and Maghrib second rakaat, you must say after ruku'. Okay, then it counts. Right. So let's see the scenario, okay? Imam's praying, Imam is doing ruku'. You come and you join. Before you bend into ruku', the Imam gets up. Okay, so you missed the ruku'. All right, which means that raka'at does not count for you. Okay, it was the Imam's second raka'at, right? So when the Imam gets down, he will do a tahiyah. You follow the Imam in his attahiyah, and that raka'at is not counted for you because you missed the ruku'. Get it? Right? So that is the first tahiyah you're gonna do, right? But that raka'at does not count for you, but it's the first tahiyat. Okay, should I draw? Okay, so let me just draw lah, make it clear. Okay, interesting, right? Actually, I know of someone, right, who loves atahiyah. They love to do atahiyah because they love to say Assalamu alaikum ayuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi barakatuh. They love it, right? Um, so they actually like joining the Imam in the second raka'at of Maghrib after the ruku because they get to do 4 tahiyat, right, in one prayer. I'm not so sure what's the hukum of that. Like to I'm sure it's makruh lah to do that. To purposely miss the first raka'at, so you get to do 4 tahiyat. Right. So basically, let's say if it's not Zuhur, if it's Maghrib. Maghrib. Allah. Alhamdulillah. Maghrib. I put MAGHRIB. Okay. Okay. So the Imam is in second raka'at. Right? This person comes, right? But she misses the ruku', right? So let me just show that when she tries to move into ruku', the Imam gets up already. Oh dear, she missed the ruku'. Okay, she missed the ruku'. Okay, the Imam has gotten up already. Right, when she goes down into ruku', the Imam already got up. Okay, so which means that this is not her first raka'at because she missed the ruku'. Okay, the Imam does a tahiyat, she will do together with the Imam, right? But her raka'at is not counted. This will be her first raka'at, right? So the Imam's third raka'at is actually her first raka'at. Okay, and because it's Maghrib, right? The Imam will only do 3 raka'ats. Let me just erase things. I'm sort of cancelling it out. Because it's Maghrib, right? The Imam is going to do 4 raka'ats, but the Imam is going to do, let me just erase everything. Okay. Okay, so for this person, let's see here, right? This one will be 0. Okay, nothing. The Imam's third raka'at, he will do tahiyah again because it's Maghrib, correct? It's her first raka'at. Okay, the Imam will give salams here. Okay, because it's the raka'at, he'll give salams. She will get up for her second raka'at Maghrib, where she will do tahiyat, and she'll get up for her third raka'at Maghrib, and she'll do tahiyat. Right? Because she has done so far only 1 raka'at with the Imam, which means she does 1 tahiyat, 2 tahiyat, 3 tahiyat, 4 tahiyat. She does 4 tahiyat in one prayer. That is correct. That is correct. She will actually do 4 tahiyat in one prayer. Interesting, right? MashaAllah. Okay. Let me continue with this. Wait, I want to go back to the questions up. Wait. I'll answer it on. Okay, let me just go back up. Okay. Okay, can I ask, so if the Imam prays the tahiyat, yeah, if we just follow everything and we don't see the salams, right? Correct. Okay. And then, let me see. Okay, at which rak'at are we not allowed to join the prayer? You can join the prayer anywhere. As long as someone is in prayer, you can join the prayer. Right? You can join the prayer anywhere. Right? So even if it's at his very last moment, right about he's about to give his salams, you want to join, you join. Right? You can join the prayer anyway. Doesn't matter. Okay? Mm. Okay, when is it sunnah to raise the hands during takbir? It is sunnah to raise the hands during takbir at the point when you begin saying of Allahu Akbar. So when you say so Allah, so when you say Allah, your hand moves up with you. Your hand moves with your voice. Then when you end the takbir, Allahu Akbar. So with the pronunciation of Ra, your hands fold in front of you. That's why I would say, even if you're masbuq, why aren't you folding your hands? Right? It's not wajib, it's sunnah, but why aren't you folding your hands? Because at the raw, it is sunnah for your hands to be folded in front of you. At the raw of Allahu Akbar, at the pronunciation of the letter raw of Allahu Akbar, right? Your hands should be folding in front of you. Get it, eh? Okay. Let me see if any other questions. Okay, see all kinds of guesses. And again, if you all this one exam question, exam paper, you all don't get full marks because all the answers all naqis, right? All the answers all deficient. Right? You need to be clear in your answer. Inshallah. Can you share the sunnah position of folding the arms after takbiratul ihram? Okay, let's draw that one. Okay, the sunnah positions of folding the arms after takbiratul ihram. Okay, there are a few ways by which you can fold your arms. Okay, there are 3 ways, in fact. Right, the first way is this is the right arm, right? Okay, let me just assume, okay, like woman, like it's a woman's book, right? Okay, so one way is thumb around the second arm and the fingers along the length. Okay, so this is the second arm, like that. Okay, so the thumb is around it. That's the first way. That is sunnah. Second way, second possible way is this is your arm, right? There are a few ways, so don't like be so narrow about it, thinking there's only one way. There are a few ways of that is sunnah, right? So second way is the thumb is around and the fingers are also around, so you're grasping. All right, and here is your other arm. Can you see that? Okay, you're grasping your wrist. You're grasping your wrist. Okay, so one way is you're grasping the entire wrist like that. Another way is the fingers are actually along your arm and your thumb is on the other, or is around it. The third way of doing it, right, is that 2 fingers run along the arm. Okay, so thumb this way, this is the other arm, right? 1 finger, 2 fingers run across, and then I'm looking at my own arm to see how to draw. Okay, then the rest of them go on the other side. Something like that. Okay, now the drawing looks very weird. But it's like that. Okay, so if you there's 2 fingers running along the arm, then 2 go behind and the thumb goes behind. Tamam? All right, these are all the 3 different ways of grasping your arm. And they are all sunnah. All sunnah. Okay? So because even the folding of the arm is sunnah. All right? Even the folding of the arm is sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would rest his arm like this, a 90-degree angle. A 90-degree, see this? 90-degree angle? A 90-degree angle, right? So if your arm is rested on your stomach, that's not going to be 90 degrees. I doubt anybody. It's going to be like 100 degrees, eh? Like, I doubt, yeah. It's said to be between his breasts and his belly button. Like he would rest his arm between his breasts and his belly button. All right. So is in between. So on your stomach, I would assume that would be on your belly button. And that is not the sunnah. On your breasts, right? That is also not the sunnah. The sunnah is between the breasts and the belly button. Okay, that's the sunnah. All right. So again, with your question of can means what? Right? Are you asking me sunnah, makro, wajib? So we're learning fiqh, yeah? We're learning fiqh. Technically, in Islam, a lot of things you can do. There are a lot of things you can do in Islam, right? But we're wondering, is it sunnah? Is it sunnah? Is it makruh? Is it wajib? Is it preferably that you avoid it? That kind of things. Okay. Let me go back up. If the Imam makes a mistake in the prayer, for example, after the Tahiyat Akhir, he stands up, can we give salams or do we follow the Imam? Okay, if you are confident the Imam is making a mistake, you must be confident. If you are 100% you are confident the Imam is doing an extra raka'at, the Imam is wrong, right? You don't follow the Imam. Okay, you don't follow the Imam. But if you're not so sure, then you follow the Imam. All right. If the ongoing Jama'ah is already in last tahiyat, is sunnah to join Jama'ah at the last tahiyat or to start another Jama'ah with your friend. Okay, if you know someone else coming in, right, to pray Jama'ah, then wait for that person. Right? If you know someone's coming in to pray Jama'ah, you might as well wait for that person because that person might well miss the first Jama'ah anyway. Right? Okay. And with all this, you get the reward of congregational prayer, inshallah. As long as you're praying in Jama'ah with someone, you have the reward of Jama'ah. The moment he has finished, and then you are continuing your prayer because you came in late, the moment he has finished and you are praying by yourself because you came in late, your reward for Jama'ah has stopped. And you're praying, it's prorated, if you want to say, even if you want to call it that way, it's prorated. It's prorated. Right? So where you get the jama'ah, that's where you get the multiplied rewards. And where you're praying by yourself, you're praying by yourself. Right? Interesting. No, mashallah. Prorated, eh? Because of course it's prorated. Right? Someone who prays 4 rak'ats with the imam and from beginning to end is not like someone who came in the last rak'at and prays 1 rak'at with the imam and prays the other 3 by themselves. Right? They're not the same. And therefore their reward cannot be the same. Right? Mm. Is it sunnah to keep your finger up after one says illallah until the end? Right? Even if you add sunnah to us after at-tahiyat, yes, correct. It is sunnah. It is sunnah to keep your finger up, and we'll get that. We are getting there because it's under at-tahiyat, right? We'll get there inshallah. But to answer your question, yes, it is sunnah to keep your finger up after you say ashhadu alla ilaha illallah. So at illallah, your finger goes up, right? You keep your finger up until the end of the prayer. It is sunnah. Is it between breast and belly button, in the middle, or towards the left side? A bit towards the left, right? So the hands are between breast and belly button, and then the hands are slightly, it's very slight, slightly towards the left. Okay? Sunnah, again, sunnah. Right. Is there an adab to enter or join a prayer when the person is doing her prayer alone? Right. Yes, you come and you tap the shoulder of the person whom you intend to pray with. So if you find someone praying by themselves and you want to jama'ah with that person, you tap that person on the shoulder. So you come, you do a slight tap, right? And then you takbir behind that person. Okay? So the person is aware that you're praying with that individual. Okay? All right. Alhamdulillah. Okay, I want to do this scenario. Okay, the scenario of you're seeing someone standing and you know that they are praying a prayer. Okay, if they are praying out loud, you kind of know where they're at, right? But if they're not praying out loud, you don't know where they're at. Okay, right. So you enter the prayer. So now the situation is, let me go back to my Word document. Okay, so now the situation is, right, to figure out, are you must book or not for this first scenario. Second and third scenario is clear already just now, right? With the where is it? Okay, this two clear. So when I say must book, I am referring to the first guy's scenario must book. I'm not referring to two or three because we have cleared the rulings for these two. Okay, so we're doing number one now. So someone comes in, are they must book or not? Right? And so when we go back to our Word document, right, what is the definition of must book? Must book means someone who entered the prayer later than the imam, than when the imam had begun, first thing, such that she was unable to finish her Fatiha because of her lateness in entering the prayer. So her inability to finish her Fatiha is because of her lateness. So therefore, she is masbuk. If she can label herself as a masbuk, right, then if she is a masbuk, a correct masbuk, the imam carries her Fatiha, right, for the raka'at, meaning that, and I will explain later on, she does not have to finish her Fatiha because the Imam carries it, right? And so when the Imam ruku', she ruku', so with the Imam, I will explain it in a while, right? So otherwise, if they are not masbuk, then they need to finish their own Fatiha for that raka'at. Let us go back to our whiteboard. Okay, let me just go another one, another one. Okay, so scenario, scenario. I think I need to wipe my screen. Screen so dusty, it's affecting my pen. Okay, let's see. Okay, scenario. All right, so person, okay, entering. Okay, I'm gonna write in cursive because then I can. My right, the pen works better when I write in cursive. Entering, right, when Imam standing. Okay, so you have no idea where the Imam is at. You enter when the Imam is standing. Okay. Okay, so scenario, right? You enter when the Imam is standing, right? What you should do, so you have no idea where the Imam is at, right? So begin Fatiha immediately, right? So Fatiha meaning from Bismillah. So don't even spend time saying A'udhu Billah, right? So do just the wajib, okay? Wajib only. Wajib only. Okay, do the wajib only. So you begin with Bismillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so when you um enter the prayer, right? And you begin with Fatiha straight away. So you say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So you have only occupied yourself with Fatiha for the so far, right? So thus far, you've only occupied yourself with Fatiha. If at any point in time during your reading of the Fatiha, the Imam goes Allahu Akbar and he ruku'. Okay? So if any point in time during your recitation of the Fatiha, the Imam goes Allahu Akbar and he ruku' or he bends, you stop your Fatiha then and you takbir and you ruku' with the Imam. Okay, you stop your Fatiha then you takbir and you ruku' with the Imam because you are counted as masbuk. Obviously, there was not enough time for you to finish your Fatiha because you began your Fatiha straight away when you entered, right? And you were only reading Fatiha. And then the Imam already ruku', which means that you had not enough time to finish Fatiha, which means you qualify for the definition of masbuk. You are masbuk. Understand, eh? Right, so understand. All right, so begin Fatiha immediately, right? And if you do this, let me just bring here situation. If you do this, right, once, yeah, I type it out, like, why am I drawing? Right, so once the Imam takbir, right, to ruku, right, you stop your Fatiha, right, wherever you're at, you stop it, your Fatiha, and follow the Imam because You are masbuk. Okay? Because you are masbuk. Okay. If you did not do this, if you forgot, right? This is the first scenario. Scenario one. Okay, scenario one. Okay, if let's say what happened was that scenario two, right? You did not begin with Fatiha immediately, but you began with something that was sunnah. So, for example, you began with Allah. Write it out. Right, scenario Z began with dua iftitah. Okay, so begin with a sunnah, right? For example, dua iftitah, iftitah, or a'udzubillah. Okay, right? So if you did this, you began with a sunnah, right? And sunnah, for example, Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, wa subhanallahi bukrata wa asila, wajjahtu wajhiya alladhi fatara samawati wal ard, hanifan muslima ma kana minal mushrikin, inna salati wa nusuki wa mahya. So you begin with dua iftitah, right? Sunnah, the whole thing is sunnah. Or you said, so maybe you did not do it's like you did not do dua iftitah, but you said أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your أعوذ بالله is sunnah, right? That is sunnah, that is not wajib, that is sunnah. Okay, if you begin with a sunnah, so because you begin with the sunnah, you had spent time in your standing doing something that was not Surah Fatiha. You get it? You spend time in your standing doing something that was not Surah Fatiha. So what are the implications of this, right? If the Imam ruku while you are still reciting Surah Fatiha, then you need to continue to recite enough to cover the time taken or the time used to do sunnah. Okay? To do the sunnahs. So let me just explain this to do the okay. So for example, I see the Imam praying, right? I come and I want to join the Imam. So I takbir Allahu Akbar. Then I begin. Allahu Akbar kabira walhamdulillahi kathira wa subhanallahi bukratan wa asila wajjahtu wajhiya, and I continue into my dua iftitah. Right. My entire dua iftitah is the length of Surah Fatiha. The dua iftitah itself is the length of Surah Fatiha. Right? But I finish dua iftitah and I go, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين, and I go into Surah Fatiha. So while I was there and I was going Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the Imam goes Allahu Akbar and he ruku. Okay, so now I'm halfway in Surah Fatiha. But I had spent time before my Fatiha doing all the sunnahs. So technically, I am not masbuk. I am not masbuk right now. Why? Because I actually had enough time to finish Fatiha. But I went to spend all that time doing all the sunnahs. Right? So I am not masbuk right now. I am not masbuk. Right? Because I had time to finish Surah Fatiha. Right? What must I do now? I must finish Surah Fatiha. Must. I have no choice. I am not masbuk. Right? I must finish Surah Al-Fatiha. Right? And if I want to catch that rak'at with the Imam, right? I can't drop my Fatiha. Right? Because I could have finished my Fatiha. Had I not done all the sunnahs, I would have finished Surah Fatiha, because Dua Iftitah is as long as Fatiha. And Dua Iftitah is as long as Fatiha. Right? So because I spent time doing Dua Iftitah, I have to finish my Fatiha right now. So I need to finish my Fatiha before the Imam completes his ruku'. So if I finish my Fatiha, right, I need to ruku' and get the Imam in ruku', right, for a level of tumanina. Right? So right now I'm at Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Imam ruku already. So I go very quickly. Maliki yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdina siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghairil maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. Then Allahu Akbar, I go into ruku'. Okay, if I get the Imam in ruku' for a level of tumanina, I got the rak'at. Okay, I got the rak'at. But if I miss the Imam in ruku', so when I was doing Surat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim, or the Imam Allahu Akbar, he gets up from ruku'. I missed the Imam in ruku'. So which means what? I finish my Fatiha, I go into ruku', but I have, no, sorry, I finish my Fatiha, but I just follow the Imam thereafter. I don't go into ruku', I actually follow the Imam. Right? So which means that the rak'at, I did not get. I did not get the rak'at. Okay? Did not get that rak'at. Um, let me see something. Okay, so this is basically for someone who enters the prayer not knowing where the Imam is. Okay, let's say I enter the prayer, and instead of doing dua iftitah, I just said A'udhu Billah. Okay, so I enter the prayer and I say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Okay, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim takes about one ayat in Surah Fatiha. It takes about thereabouts, right? Depending on how long the ayat is. One or two ayats in Surah Fatiha. So because I spend time doing A'udhu Billah, so for example, if I'm doing Surah Fatiha and I'm at Maliki Yawmiddin, right there, right? Then the Imam ruku, Allahu Akbar, he ruku. Right now, I have to just recite one more ayat to cover up the time taken that I took, right, to say A'udhu Billah. Get it? Right. So all I have to do is do one more ayat. Right. So I say, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. That's about the length of time for A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Right. So then I say one more ayat. Now I can stop my Fatiha and I can ruku' with the Imam, because had I begun my Fatiha without A'udhu Billah, I still would not have finished my Fatiha. Right. So technically I had no time to finish Surah Fatiha. Right? You get it? Right? So I say one more ayat to cover up for the time I took to say the sunnah, and then I ruku. And if the Imam, I can stop my Fatiha halfway, the Imam will carry my Fatiha. It's okay. Right? Okay. This is if you enter and you don't know where the Imam is at. If you enter the prayer from the very beginning of the prayer, right? If you enter the prayer from the Takbiratul Ihram, so what does it mean by you entering the prayer from the beginning? Right? So Imam takbir, you takbir. So the Imam goes, Allahu Akbar, he ends the prayer. Right after, you go, Allahu Akbar, and you enter the prayer. So this means that you are not late. You are not late to the prayer. Okay? So now comes all the scenarios. Imam is too fast, you are too slow. But the reasons for you not being able to finish Surah Fatiha is not because you were late. The reasons are other reasons. Get it, eh? Hope you get it. Okay, inshallah. Let me just go to the Word document first. So you see here, right? I'm going to explain this and then I'm going to go into the questions, okay? So explain the lagging Fatiha scenario. So the first scenario, Imam is too fast. Okay. Okay, so scenarios 1 to 3, let me just unhighlight all this so beautiful on the eyes. How to remove the highlights. Okay. All right. Remove all of this as well. Okay. Okay. So the first 3 scenarios, you were all on time. Okay. First 3. Wait. Let me see. Okay. First 3 scenarios, you were on time. Let me put here. Okay. Right. For these first 3 scenarios, you takbir right after the Imam, or for out loud prayers, you entered before the Imam finished his Fatiha. Okay. Right? Why is there this or? Right? Because technically you don't begin in out loud prayers, right? You don't begin reciting Surah Fatiha until the Imam is done. The sunnah. Right, sunnah is that you don't begin reading Surah Fatiha until the Imam is done. Right, so if for out loud prayers, okay, for silent prayers, it's from the beginning because you read Surah Fatiha from the beginning. Right, but for out loud prayers, you read Surah Fatiha after the Imam is done with his Fatiha, then you begin reading Surah Fatiha. So right, you are still not counted as a masbuk, because you're not counted as a masbuk because you entered with enough time to read Surah Fatiha. If you were there from the beginning, same thing, because you only begin reading Surah Fatiha after the Imam is done. I hope you understand. So the first scenario, right, Imam is too fast. If you don't understand, just say it in the chat and I'll explain it again. Okay. So first scenario, Imam is too fast. So his Fatiha was okay. So he, whether it's a silent or an out loud prayer, right? So maybe so if it's a silent prayer, so he goes Allahu Akbar, and then you behind him Allahu Akbar, right? And you begin reading your Surah Fatiha. Okay. You will just Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. And all of a sudden the Imam Allahu Akbar and he ruku'. And you're still like halfway through your Fatiha. You don't know how in the world he read so fast. Right. So but he read fast, right? And he is in ruku' right now. Right. So what do? Finish it. Right. Finish the Fatiha. You are not masbuk. For as long as you are not masbuk, you must finish your Fatiha. Okay. You must finish your Fatiha. So Imam is too fast, right? Must finish Fatiha. Let me just put it at the end. Like, all three scenarios you make the same answer. Right? Or you are too slow. So for maybe you are like you just learned Surah Fatiha, for example. Right? Someone who just learned Surah Fatiha, they're a bit too slow. Okay. So the Imam didn't read too fast, right? But you are too slow. Okay. Or you did some sunnahs and therefore did not finish Surah Fatiha when the Imam did his ruku'. Right. So what is your scenario for 1, 2, and 3? Right. And 1, 2, and 3 is they're all under this situation, and put it all in bold. Right. Okay, you number 1, 2, and 3, they are all in this situation. They takbir right after the Imam, or for out loud prayers, and third right when the Imam finishes Fatiha or before he finishes Fatiha. Right, so which means that, let me just say, right, not masbuk. Okay, so the answer is, doesn't matter, right, must finish Fatiha, right, and given till the second sujud to catch up with the Imam. Okay, I will explain later. Okay. Right. So also again another time I have to explain this, but right. So basically this person, she's given up to the second sujud. So second sujud means the Imam has gone into the first sujud, sit up, sujud again. Right. So she's given up to that amount of time to finish her Fatiha because she's not masbuk. She's not masbuk. So she must finish her Fatiha before the second sujud of the Imam, right? Before he finishes his second sujud for to catch up. She must go and catch up. So I think I must draw a bit or demonstrate or give a scenario about this. Okay, but the rule of thumb is if you are not masbuk, you must finish Fatiha. No matter what. Right? If you're not masbuk, you must finish Fatiha. Okay. Second scenario. Okay, for scenario 4. Let me just step. Okay. Let's see. Because you entered the prayer later and did not do sunnahs. Okay, scenario 4. Oh, 5. Right? You entered later and did do sunnahs before Fatiha. Or did recite. No, not do lah, recite. Did not recite. Sunnah recitations. Right? And you did recite Sunnah recitations before Fatiha. Okay, so this second scenario is not like this, right? But right, you for scenario 4 and 5, you entered the prayer later, right? And don't know how much time you have before the Imam does ruku. Okay, so the first scenario, you entered the prayer and you did not do any surah recitations, right? The moment Imam ruku, you stop your Fatiha and ruku. Right? Imam carries your Fatiha. Okay. Scenario 5, right? You did some sunnahs, so the answer is, right, you need to recite enough. You need to continue reciting. Enough of Surah Al-Fatiha to cover up for the time used for sunnah, right? Reading recitations. Okay, right? And then you can ruku with the Imam. If you get ruku with Imam for tumanina, then the rakaat, then you got the rakaat. Okay, if you did not, then you did not get the rakaat. Okay, if you did not get ruku with tumanina with Imam, right, then you did not get the rakaat. Okay, I hope this is clear. Right, so these are the few scenarios, and that's basically lah. These are the only types of scenarios. Right, these are the only scenarios that will be with regards to inability to finish Fatiha. Right, so lagging Fatiha scenarios. Okay, so first one, you're not a masbuk. If you're not a masbuk, doesn't matter what the case is, you must finish Fatiha, right? And you're given up till the second sujud. High chances you will get it before the Imam sujuds. Okay, just that once you finish it, you continue praying, you ruku, you get back up, you sujud, and so on. You go do the actions, and the rakat is yours. Don't worry about it. The rakat is yours, right? Because of it's called uzr. It's called you have valid excuse. You have a valid excuse. Okay. Um. Uh. Let's see. But actually, with scenario 3, you must finish it before the Imam goes into the sujud. I'll explain all these things later online, inshallah. Now, so I hope then is clear. Scenario 4 and scenario 5. Okay, let me answer all the questions. Then we end our class, inshallah. Let's see. First, let me go back. Okay, what if someone is not aware what a tap on his shoulder means? Is our prayer still considered part as a congregation? Yes, right. It is in fact in Jama'ah, right, in congregation. If the Imam does not intend to be an Imam, the Imam does not get the reward of Jama'ah, the Ma'mum does. Right? The Ma'mum gets the reward of Jama'ah, but not the Imam. Right? So if the Imam forgets, right, to intend Imaman, right, then the Imam does not get the reward of congregation, but the Ma'mum gets the reward. So if the Ma'mum taps the Imam's shoulder and the Imam has no idea why, right, and the Imam doesn't make an intention in their heart, right, then there's no reward for the Imam, but reward for Ma'mum. Okay. What is the ruling if the Imam is too fast and not finish Fatiha? Okay, I hope I have explained that. Okay, right? I hope for Radia, if I have not explained it sufficiently, please message again. Okay, so after Imam Fatiha is immediately read short surah and ruku. So I hope I have explained that. All right. Okay. What is a sunnah for a time delay in us following the Imam's movement? Uh, the moment the Imam has finished the movement, you can begin the movement. Wait for the Imam to finish the movement, then you begin the movement. Okay? All right. So because if you can finish that thing in time to join the Imam in the ruku, is this possible? Yes, you can do that. If you are confident that you can catch the Imam in the ruku, then by all means, by all means, finish your recitation. Is up to you. You can do so if you want to, right? But you need to get him in the ruku. Okay. right? I hope you understand, eh? But basically, you begin your movement once the Imam has finished his movement. So when the Imam has finished his sujood, then you begin to move into sujood. When the Imam has finished getting up from sujood, then you begin to get up from sujood, and so on. Okay, another question here. If I must book while the Imam is in ruku, and I take the ihram, then to matnina, then to ruku, and the Imam says Allahu Akbar and move to the rukun, does it count for me? The ruling is you must be bent in ruku' and the imam must be bent in ruku' and both of you are together bent in ruku' for at least subhanallah. Okay, so if while you're moving down he's moving up, right, you are not together bent in ruku'. You both must be bent in ruku' at the same time for subhanallah, for the rakat to be counted, right? So if he is on his way up and you're on your way down, then it does not count. It does not count. The rakat does not count for you. Is it preferred for one to pray in congregation? It is preferred in the Shafi'i madhab. In the Shafi'i madhab, it is preferred. Okay. Once the Imam starts prayers and a child comes to use for her prayer garment, and by the time you are done, Imam preaches Fatiha. Am I considered to be scenario 4, coming to the prayer late and a masbuk? Yes. Yes. If you basically you enter the prayer, the Imam is already doing his surah, right? So which means the other Jama'ah have begun their Fatiha. The other Jama'ah have begun their Fatiha. You have not begun your Fatiha because you are late. So you are a late comer, right? Okay. Okay, Alhamdulillah. We started for today. Was sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Today we didn't do quest for which is corrected character because we're so occupied with the fiqh. Inshallah, next week we can start with the